Chrissie Swan Show.
Hi there. I am currently on a beach on the Gold Coast seeing my dad.
Aww.
I know. It's like a voice from the grave, isn't it?
Shout out to the Major Gary.
And, you know, one of my favourite things to do on holidays when I'm going to visit my dad is make big salad rolls. Go to the supermarket, get the carrot, get the beetroot, get the red onion, and, of course, get the Tomy mayonnaise.
You're obsessed with Tomy mayo, and it's a very specific thing in your life that you will only eat Tomy mayo. We're going to find out what your specific mayo is before 3 o'clock. And, Swanee, you've done something pretty major recently.
I have. I had my very first MRI, and it will come as no surprise to people that are over it and fatigued that I enjoyed it very, very much.
The Chrissie Swan Show.
Now, I realised something about myself yesterday.
That you're going to be angry today.
No, I wasn't angry then. Because, you know, by the way, I'm angry about Married at First Sight, which is a sentence that I'm ashamed to even have to say. I want to talk about mayonnaise. Because you know that I am very open-minded.
Yes.
And I am curious. I am the most curious person I know.
You love trying new things.
I love trying new things.
You love being recommended different things.
Yes, and if someone tells me something is amazing, I try it straight away.
Yeah.
And usually I adopt it into my life, adapt. Mayonnaise is one thing that I cannot be swayed on. And I don't think it's just me. I feel like once you have found your mayonnaise, your store-bought mayonnaise, I'm not talking about all that up-yourself stuff that people do with oil and stick mixes and eggs that you make. I've never done that. I never will.
No.
I will only eat Tomy mayonnaise. It's the only mayonnaise that I have.
I have never heard of Tomy.
Well,
spell Tomy for me.
Thomy. It is the best. And people have attempted to talk me out of it. But it's the one thing that is not for sale is my love of Tomy. People say, oh, what about Kewpie?
I was going to say, surely Kewpie tops Tomy.
There is, of course, a place for Kewpie mayonnaise, but it is not in my heart the way that Tomy is.
Praise
has a place. They all have a place, but the only mayonnaise that I purchase that I love is Tomy.
Can you give me one reason why it stands out from the rest? Like, is there an ingredient in it that differs or...
The flavour, the texture, all of it.
Right, okay.
It is the best. And people try and go, oh, what about Hellmann's? Hellmann's is fine, but it does not have my heart. Or what about Best Foods? No.
Now, Tomy mayo, is it like a special gourmet one you can only get?
No.
Because I swear I've never seen it in the your Coles or Woolies.
It's usually down the bottom. And also usually the shelves are empty because I buy 6 at a time.
Right.
13, 24, 10. Are you obsessed with one mayonnaise and one mayonnaise only? I do want some people to try and change my mind about this because I really believe that my opinion is unchangeable.
I've got that, but with washing liquid.
Do you?
Radiant till I die. Liquid Radiant. My housemate sometimes buys other, and I'm like, absolutely not.
I think you're right. I'm an Omo girl.
Yes. What mayo do you use?
The Chrissie Swan Show.
We're talking mayonnaise. It is the one thing that is not negotiable for me. I am a Tomy girl, and I realised yesterday it's the one thing that I'm not willing to be flexible on.
Yeah, you're stuck on that.
Yes.
Which is good. I think it's good to have a product like that. I'm like that with Radiant washing liquid. Weirdly, I'm not a mayo dude.
Aren't you?
No.
Oh, God, I love mayo.
Yeah.
Ask me what I use it in.
What do you use it in?
Thank you, Jack. I use it instead of a salad dressing.
Okay.
Like I just put it in my rocket and tuna, just bang and keep on mixing.
So thick.
Sandwiches, I mix it in with boiled eggs. I mix it in with tuna. I dip my potato cakes and my hot chips in it. Oh, my God, I'm salivating.
See, a hot chip in any sauce that is white is unacceptable.
What? Are you joking?
Nah.
Chips and aioli?
Nah. Absolutely not. It adds just a dirty, creamy texture that I don't need in my chip. The hot chip is food perfection. Don't go putting thick white sauce on it. A bit of tomato sauce and salt. Thank you.
Tomato sauce? No.
Yes, ketchup.
No. I mean,
anyway,
we're going
to
we are gonna grapple outside this office later. But in the meantime, let's talk to Melissa. You are not a Tomy mayo girl, are you, Melissa?
No, And have you ever tried Kewpie mayonnaise?
Of course I've tried. You're a sweet kid, Melissa. I have tried Kewpie.
How can you not? How can that not be a non-negotiable?
Well, honestly, I just feel like it's too expensive for the amount that I want to use.
Oh, no, you're right. But I always go past the aisle, and whenever it's on sale, I get like 4 or 5.
Okay.
Tell us about your relationship with Kewpie, Mel, because it's a relatively new sort of trend and phase.
Well, I was introduced to it by a friend about 5 years ago, and I have 4 kids, and I introduced it to them, and now they put it on everything. Even I will sit there and hand make all my chicken schnitzel, do everything from the crumbs.
Everything.
Put everything, and then they go and get the Kewpie and put that on top of the chicken schnitzel. I'm like, they have it on everything.
I mean, that is a great combo, but you can't be swayed. I totally get it.
Priceline Pharmacy voucher for you, Melissa.
Paolo, what is your mayo of choice?
My mayo of choice is Heinz.
Heinz. So is my daughter's, and I just feel like I've got a traitor in the house because I have to buy it. Do you do the traditional one?
Yeah, absolutely traditional one. And I have to say, coming from Europe, that has been the worst cultural change here, the mayonnaise.
Really, it has been the worst cultural change since coming to Australia is the quality of mayonnaise.
Living in another language, having the love in another language. No, it's the mayonnaise.
Paolo, you are the best. Oh, my God.
Priceline Pharmacy voucher for you, Paolo.
Who would have seen that coming? You move to a different country and everything's great, but you're really upset with the mayo. And you're a Tommy girl, aren't you?
Yes, have been pretty much my whole life. My mum had it. Auntie gets it. I get it.
You can't go back.
It doesn't have a specific taste.
What is that taste, Anna?
I don't know, but it's different to your Heinz, your Praise, and all the rest of it.
Yes, I think you're right. It's milder or something.
Yeah, I don't know, but it just has I don't even know if it's like a more delicate taste.
Yes.
Right.
And it's silky. It's silky.
It is. It's really smooth.
Yes. My gran was a Best Foods mayonnaise. Are you across that?
No.
Okay, so it's Best Foods whole egg, and she was adamant that it was the best. But to me, it was a bit globby. It was a bit...
Mum has that when you squeeze it out, like it's like poo, like droplets. I know exactly what you mean.
It's not for me.
Let's finish with Lynn.
Lenny.
Hi.
Are you a mayonnaise denier?
I am. It's horrible. I can't cope with it at all.
Lynn, I'm speechless, but I will tell you that Sweeping Statements is coming up. Call back then.
The Chrissie Swan Show. The Chrissie Swan Show.
I had an MRI, which sounds very
I
serious.
was going to say, are you going to make it through the week?
I am going to make it through the week.
Phew.
I mean, sometimes it's sad that I am going to, but I am. No, I've had a very sore wrist for a very long time.
Yes.
And I've, as we all do, make excuses for it. Oh, it first started to hurt when I was pregnant with Peg. She's about to turn 11. Yeah. So then I just self-diagnosed, as you do. I was like, it's carpal tunnel. Happens to pregnant women all the time.
Okay.
But that doesn't explain.
Your baby's 12.
I know. It's like it still hurts. And then, you put a bit of Voltaren and cream on it and get cracking. But I was on holiday in Queensland visiting Granddad, earlier on in the year. And I pulled a cup of milk out of the microwave because that's how I have my coffee. I'm fancy.
I know.
And the cup fell out of my hand. My hand and wrist was so weak. I know.
That's full grim.
I know. I felt like, oh my God, I'm turning into,
You're 85 officially.
Ruth Cracknell from Mother and Son. Anyway, I thought, look, I'll get onto that. And I have. And, of course, nobody knows what's wrong with it, but I've booked in for an MRI. But they still don't know what it is.
And this is after the MRI. They don't know what it is.
No, I only had the MRI yesterday.
Right.
An
MRI, excuse my ignorance, is that the one where you lay down and it's the full body scan?
Yes. So you are inserted into a huge metal bullet It's like something from the Minority Report, which is a very old reference, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So normally you go in on your back, but because they were looking at my wrist, I had to go on my tummy like Superman. And, I mean, medical professionals are just the best ever.
They
It's
are.
always my favourite interaction of any day.
So
is
interesting.
A nurse or an X-ray guy or whatever. And the MRI people were absolutely no exception. So I went in. I didn't have to get naked or anything, which I was sort of upset about. I know. I like to get them out. Yeah. Anyway, he made this big song and dance, this lovely young man saying, "Oh, have you ever had an MRI before?" And I said, "No." And I admit I was a bit nervous because, I don't think I'm claustrophobic, but I don't know 100% for
Also,
sure how I'm going to cope in a tiny little hole.
I don't care who you are. When you walk into those rooms in that sterile, hostile, white environment, it is intimidating.
It is. I agree.
And loud.
But I was sort of excited because I felt like I was going to get to the bottom of, what was going on. Anyway, he did all the right things in terms of warning me. It's very noisy. It's very claustrophobic. It's always uncomfortable, but yours in particular is a very uncomfortable one because you've got to be on your tummy with your arm out and you've got to be completely still for 20 minutes.
Is this guy trying to scare you? Like,
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if maybe people whinge about it. I don't know.
Right.
So I was, nervous, but I'm a brave baby. So I get in there. And before I got in, he goes, "Look, it is noisy in there." And by noisy, I mean, these are the sounds. I didn't know how noisy it was. These are the exact MRI sounds. Sounds like you got to pick up the phone. This one is weird. And then the whole time,
you left a toy on.
You've got a cannula in your vein pumping stuff in. It's a very weird situation, but I survived. Anyway, he said, "Look, it's very noisy. We've got some headphones. Would you like to listen to something?" And I said, "Would I? I will have Taylor Swift Folklore, please," from the beginning. So this is actually what it sounded like in that bullet for a full 25 minutes. This. I could barely hear my Queen and Saviour. When I came out, he said to me, "Are you okay?" I said, "Do you know what? I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed it." I said, "It was so nice to stop." He goes, "You got lots of kids, haven't you?" And I said, "Yes."
After those noises, I'd be then going straight to the psych ward.
I know.
That's awful.
Apparently all the mothers love it.
Wow, that says
No
a
one's
lot.
asking anything of you.
It's the Chrissie Swan Show on Nova.
The Chrissie Swan Show.
Did you watch Love on the Spectrum?
I didn't. I kind of missed that phase through COVID when everyone was watching it.
Well, you must go back and watch it. It is evergreen. It is joyous. It is life-affirming. And I think it should be shown in schools.
Now there's... Oh, really?
Yes.
Like as an educational piece.
Oh, it's so wonderful and humanising of everybody. It's brilliant. The real star of the show there is a woman called Jodi Rodgers. She's released a book. She is that beautiful, warm woman that comes in and coaches these people on the spectrum on how to do a first date, deal with their anxieties. I mean, we could all use Jodi.
She's like a maths expert.
The Chrissie Swan Show.
You're listening to the Chrissie Swan Show on Nova, and it gives me great pleasure to welcome the warmest, most gorgeous woman that I have seen over the last few years on television, the gorgeous Jodi Rodgers. Oh. Now, people may not know your name, but they definitely know your spirit from Love on the Spectrum. You are the woman that arrives on the scene and irons out all the misgivings and worries that the people that star on the show have about meeting a new love.
Yes, that is my job, the ironer outerer.
Well, I watch Married at First Sight occasionally, and I wait for the episodes where the experts get to weigh in on the relationships, and it's the same with Love on the Spectrum. I wait for the episode where you arrive into the kitchen of the person and sort them out. What are some of the most unusual things you've had to iron out in that way?
Do you know, the first one I think belongs to everybody is the anxiety that comes with first-time dating.
Yeah.
Because it's the overthinking.
Yes.
And part of an autistic neurology is to kind of have this perseverated, ruminating thought. So you can imagine you're about to go out on your first date.
Yeah.
And then it's just do-dong, do-dong,
Yes.
do-dong. And this there's so much nervousness and social anxiety that some people can't even get out their front door.
Even hearing you talk in this way,
Yeah.
and this is the big takeaway that me and my kids got from Love on the Spectrum, and we've watched, but I think there's 2 series. We've watched all of them anyway, and the international ones, is that we are not autistic in my house, but everybody shares those feelings. Everybody.
Do you know, Chrissy, I think that's why the show was so successful. I've even got friends that said they didn't even know they were watching a show about autistic people. When they first saw, Love on the Spectrum, they didn't really understand the spectrum part. So they just started watching a show thinking it was going to be about love and dating. And they just were saying to me, this is so highly relatable. But then we were watching autistic people who are so just authentically themselves and
Yes.
so blunt.
It's actually so inspiring.
It's really inspiring. I mean, how many people on maths do we see plucking out their monobrow before they go on a date? Or, that is the thing that I think everybody loved, because it was about the parts of us.
Yeah.
Neurotypical people that we hide,
Yeah.
but lots of autistic people just go, this is who I am, and this
The
is what it's all about.
authenticity is the takeaway.
authentic. Yeah, very.
And also, I think there's a lot of fear around stuff that we don't know about as well as we should. And the show and you really did an amazing job in normalising neurodiversity. Your book is called Unique, and it says what autism can teach us about difference, connection and belonging. And I think these 3 words are really, really interesting, because when I didn't know too much about autism, those are the words that kind of come to mind as what is impossible for an autistic person: connection and belonging. What is your take on that?
This book, I always talk about it as being an upside down book.
Yeah.
So rather than it being a book about autism, it's actually a book about what 30 odd years of hanging out with autistic people have taught me about my relationships with everybody. And even this interaction with the two of you, like the two of you may not know, but or your mannerisms and your facial expressions and the way that you use your voices and how we can create a connection very, very quickly with each other. So the book really is saying, just have a look at everybody.
As someone that is, say, neurotypical, are there any tips or tools you would give or recommend on engaging with neurodivergent people?
I think the thing that most of us should do as neurotypical people is just remember that that person might be autistic, but they're also an individual. So meet each person as themselves. And the other thing that I always think is, if you don't understand, rather than judging, be really curious about it. So if you meet an autistic person and then they've got what we call flat affect, so you're thinking, what is this person expressing here?
Yes.
Just ask.
Okay.
Because autistic people will support all the rest of us to understand if we are more curious and less judgmental. So that would probably be the best thing. Or the other thing I think is explain yourself. So the other thing I've always realised is, say, my facial expression might be expressing something to neurotypical people, but if I see an autistic person just a bit perplexed in what I'm doing, I tell them what I am thinking and what I am feeling.
And so what would that sound like? For people listening, what would it actually sound like?
At the moment, you might not be able to tell, but I am really excited and really enthusiastic about being here.
Yeah.
Explicitly.
It's so interesting.
It is.
This book is fantastic, and it is called Unique. It's by Jodi Rodgers. Get it. You are also a sexologist, and
one of our favourite topics.
I have never met one IRL, and I don't know what you do. Would you stick around to talk about that part of your expertise?
Yeah, sure.
Fantastic.
It's the Chrissie Swan Show on Nova.
The Chrissie Swan Show. The Chrissie Swan Show.
And we're still here with the great Jodi Rodgers, who you would have fallen in love with as a sort of lifestyle romance coach on Love on the Spectrum. Everybody loves you, Jodi. But I was interested when I was reading your book that you're listed as a sexologist, as another one of your fields of expertise.
Listed's good because I did a master's degree in it. So I know you go to uni and study sex.
Does that mean that you're really good in the sack?
I think it's like when you say, does a chef cook at home? I think that if you're a sexologist...
Well, no, a chef would cook at home, but it's sort of, simple.
It's more intimate.
So what does a sexologist do and how can they help people?
So if you think about sexuality, usually people go straight to just the act.
Yes.
And we're very heterosexist, actually, because we always just think about the heterosexual act of penetration and reproduction.
Yeah.
But sexuality is a complete expression of ourselves. So it's our sensuality, that's my favourite part. Our sensuality, our body image, our self-esteem, how we communicate that, then all of our sexual behaviour. But, our gender identity, it's huge. It's every part of us.
And when you say sensuality is your favourite element of sexology, talk to us about what that is, because to me, what is sensuality?
So for me, if you think about sensuality, the word, it comes from the word senses.
Yeah.
So it's really about how do we use all of our senses, and not just the 5 that we all kind of talk about, but also we've got these internal senses. How do we use these senses to be in our best moments, because that's where sexy comes from.
Yeah,
when you're feeling really, really sexy,
Yep.
it is because you're feeling really sensual. So you can feel, if you fill yourself up, it's not about another person.
No.
Definitely other people enhance this, but if you're feeling that within yourself, then it kind of oozes out of you with this incredible confidence. And so you're already there.
Yeah.
Before anything else.
Never
has to
thought
take
about
place.
it like that.
What would you say to a woman who is dead inside?
I'd say go back to all the things that make you feel really, really good. So what is what is the smells you really like? What is the things you like to taste? What do you like to hear? What's your favourite time of day? What do you like to touch? What do you like to...
I do all that and I'm still dead inside.
Chrissie, you and I need to have a one-on-one
Yeah.
conversation together.
You need to go into the practice.
I just feel like I've got no interest in that part of life
But
anymore.
remember, our sexuality is lifelong and it ebbs and flows. So you're going to have moments where you're feeling really, really sensual and, wanting to feel the act of sex or wanting to feel sexual. There's other parts of our lives where other things...
How long does that last, that part of
Well,
life?
it's rediscovering. It's got to have motivation to it. You've got to have the motivation to also go, okay, what is this fulfilling for me in this part of my life? I promise you, it is ebb and flow throughout your whole life.
Okay, well, that's good, isn't it?
Yeah, it could come back, Swanee. There's still hope.
It'll come back. If you want it to come back.
I don't think I do. Is that bad?
No, not at all. Some people, there's people that are asexual that never have these feelings. There's other people that say, actually, for me, just a cup of tea and a really good book is the fulfilling part of my
That's
life.
me.
A Taylor Swift album.
Can you get late onset asexuality?
Jodi, I also just want to point out when I was researching you, you were profiled by the New York Times, which is
Yes.
extremely sick.
Yes.
What was it like being profiled by them? That's amazing.
I think I talked the ear off the journalist, and I think that she may not have met many Aussies before because
Right.
she kept saying to me, you're so down to earth and you've got so much to say. And I think because almost what Chrissie just did then, she started to ask me questions that went back to herself.
Yeah.
So it ended up being almost a conversation between the two of us.
Yeah.
And I forgot that I was actually talking to someone.
Amazing.
In terms of Australians, you are right up
Yeah,
there.
you are.
Like, yes.
The best.
Yes.
I am.
the
Jodi's
best.
book, Unique, is available in all good bookstores and online now. Thank you so much for coming in and joining us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
The Chrissie Swan Show.
Let's have a look in the mailbag.
Chrissie's correspondence.
We absolutely love it when you send us letters. You can find us on Instagram, The Chrissie Swan Show. Slide into our DMs. We get them.
We love it.
All right, Naomi reached out after hearing us talk about school camp earlier. I'm so excited today because my daughter comes back from school camp and I get to see her tonight when I fly home
Mac and
to
cheese,
Melbourne.
yeah?
Mac and cheese is already in the fridge ready to go. That's
Yum.
her sort of, last wish meal. But I was talking to my son last night and the house has got me and Peg out of it, which is very rare.
Only the boys.
Only the boys there. And I said, how is it? And he goes, honestly, it's eerie.
It would be.
It's quiet and eerie.
Do you think he'd be enjoying it or?
Well, I don't know, but he should enjoy it because it all changes tonight. Naomi said, I just heard about your school camp chat because we were saying how awful it is.
The worst.
She says, my daughter had to go on an 8-week camp.
No chance. Immediate no.
Immediate no. And she desperately didn't want to go, so much so that she faked a COVID test. Now, I didn't realise this. Naomi's daughter made her buy oranges because she said she wanted to make sure that she didn't get sick before she went. But the devil squeezed the orange juice onto the COVID test and it came up positive. Thank you, TikTok, for that.
What a great trick.
That would have come in so handy a few years ago to just get a little week off.
Because can you still do that at a workplace? Like, do you still show a COVID test and get your time off?
I think you can.
Okay.
Yes, I think those days aren't over, which
Noted.
I can't say the same for working from home. Unlike us, Leanne has learned how to change a tyre. I drove to work with my tyre going... This week, turns out it was flat, had a nail in it. It's all been changed now, but certainly not by me.
No.
And I'm never going to learn. Leanne has learnt. She goes, I've just been listening to the show. I first changed a tyre all by myself when my son was a tiny baby. Oh, my God, Leanne, I could not have done it then or now. And she says, I've since then had 2 flat tyres in the last 2 months, and my husband and I have changed them both within 20 minutes, one in the pouring rain and one in the 39-degree heat.
Why?
I mean, I don't know what to say. I'm sure that you want me to say well done, but I wouldn't mean it.
No.
Just call someone.
Call the dudes.
Call someone who has that level of expertise.
Yeah.
Jessica had a question about a potential relative of mine, and this is interesting. Hello, Chrissie. Ever since you blessed us on Big Brother many eons ago, this has been on my mind. Given that you both have similar facial features, and I agree, are you connected to Jimmy Barnes, whose real name is James Swan?
Really?
Now, yes. Now, this is something that I need to talk to my sister about because she's the Ancestry.com person. The bottom line is my grandfather is born in the same city as Jimmy Barnes's family, who are Swans.
So there's a chance.
They're both from Glasgow.
How have you not investigated this earlier in life? Can you imagine, Swanee? You would love that.
I would love that.
And I know you'll shut me down here, but you have good pipes. You can sing. So I reckon there is a very high chance there is a relation
And I
there.
don't think I look unlike Jimmy Barnes. I feel like it's
I don't necessarily see that.
The curly hair. I have always felt... What are you laughing at, Tom?
Tom agrees with me. You don't look like Jimmy Barnes, mate.
Are you sure?
No, absolutely not.
Also, shout out to Ship and Steel, which is one of the great...
You love that.
All right, Ben was not happy with your pronunciation, Jack, of the word mobile.
I'm sorry, this really makes me cringe.
So you went to 7-Eleven. It was at Mobile. Is that right?
It's 7-Eleven, and that is the fuel company.
Yes.
That's a part of 7-Eleven now.
Of course it is.
And I had to say that word in an influencer video.
Yes. You're paid to do it, so it's good to get it right.
Yes, and apparently...
How did you say it?
Grand Prix week is upon us. Morning I kicks it off with 7-Eleven and Mobile.
Mobile.
How do you say it?
Mobiles, no problems.
Mobile.
I'm sorry?
Mobile.
Mobile.
Mobile. Mobile.
Mobile.
Mobile. Mobile. I really struggle with it. Mobile.
Yes, mobile. Okay. There you go.
Why
Ben.
is it? We should change the spelling.
Ben just said, Chrissie, for God's sake, teach Jack how to pronounce mobile.
Mobile.
You okay?
Is that not how you say it?
Hey, just refer to that link that I sent you about combining certain things. Jordan has a question for me. Now, this has made me laugh. Jordan's message goes like this. Hey, I seen you sleeping with my dad the other night. Better make sure my mum doesn't see you.
Who have you been sleeping with?
I mean, look, unless his dad is a giant iggle-piggle from the night garden, which I do sleep with every night, you got the wrong person, Jordan.
Now check this out.
The Chrissie Swan Show is a Nova podcast. For more great comedy shows like this, head to novapodcast.com.au.